We have all been there. You're staring at a manual for a piece of furniture, maybe a recipe, or some new software, and you just feel completely lost. You know, some instructions are so clear they feel like magic, while others, they're just infuriating. Today, we're going to break down the science and the art of writing instructions that actually work.
Right? Have you ever just given up, maybe even thrown the manual across the room? It's such a universal feeling of frustration, and you start to think, is it me? Am I just not getting this? Well, I've got some really good news for you. It's probably not you.
And that leads us to this really powerful idea, taken right from the principles of technical writing. When instructions fail, the blame, it lies with the person who wrote them. Now that's a huge shift in perspective, right? It puts all the responsibility on the creator to provide clarity. So how do they do that?
So, where do you even start? Well, maybe not where you'd expect. You know, the single biggest mistake most people make is they jump right into writing the steps. But here's the thing. Great instructions aren't really about what to do, they're about who you're talking to.
Before a single word gets written down, a good writer is asking a ton of questions. Who is actually using this? What do they already know? What do they need to be able to do when they're finished? Are they a complete beginner, or are they a seasoned pro? The answers to these questions, they change absolutely everything.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because you're dealing with two totally different mindsets. A novice, a beginner, they need every single detail spelled out. They need definitions for jargon, simple, bite-sized steps. An expert, on the other hand, they would be so annoyed by all that. They just want a high-level overview that gets straight to the point because they already have the background knowledge. Writing for one and giving it to the other is a complete recipe for failure.
Okay, so once you know who you're writing for, the very next question is why. Are you trying to tell them how to do something? Or are you trying to explain how something works? Now, they might sound similar, but believe me, they require totally different approaches.
So first up, you've got what we call prescriptive documents. Think of these as your classic how-to guides or your IKEA manuals. They use command language, unscrew this, connect that, click here, and they're organized into numbered steps. Their only purpose is to guide you to take an action.
Then on the flip side, you've got descriptive documents. These are things like process reports or analyses. They don't give you commands, they just explain things. This is for, say, a manager who needs to understand a workflow, or maybe a student who's learning a new concept. The goal here is comprehension, not execution.
And when you lay it all out like this, you can really see the divide. Prescriptive documents are for the doer. Their purpose is action, and they use a command voice. Descriptive documents for the knower. Their purpose is understanding, and they use a declarative voice. Giving a doer a descriptive document is pretty much useless, and giving a knower a prescriptive one is just confusing.
All right, so we've analyzed our audience, we've chosen our document type, now we can get into the design. And let me be clear, I'm not talking about making it look pretty with fancy fonts. In this world, design isn't aesthetic, it's 100% functional.
You'll hear this term cognitive load. It's really just a technical way of saying how much mental effort something takes. Good design lowers that effort. It guides your eye where it needs to go, makes the whole process feel less intimidating, and actually actively prevents you from making mistakes.
And there are some really classic, powerful design tools to help with this. Visual hierarchy, for example. That's just using things like headings and bold text to show what's most important. Chunking is just grouping related information together. And white space, all that empty space on the page, it gives your reader's brain a little room to breathe, and it separates the steps really clearly.
And this is what happens when you just ignore those principles. You see this? Burying all the steps inside a giant paragraph, it doesn't just look bad, it actively causes errors. It's like building a giant wall of text that your reader has to climb over just to get the information they need. But look what happens when you apply those simple design principles. Everything changes. You use clear headings for a hierarchy, you number the steps logically, and you use that beautiful white space to separate them. It totally transforms the experience. This is what functional design looks like. It's clean, it's simple, and it helps the user succeed. Okay, if you only take away one single thing from this whole explainer, please let it be this. This next rule is probably the most important one of all, and yet it gets broken constantly. Look at this step. This is what we call a compound step, and it is a disaster. It jams 4 separate actions into a single instruction. A reader might do the first 1 or 2 and then completely forget the rest, which leads to an error. It's such a classic writer's mistake. So the rule is incredibly simple. 1 step, 1 action. That's it. So we start with the very first, most basic command. Unscrew the filter cap. Period. Nothing else. This forces discipline on you as the writer, and it gives the reader a really clear, achievable task before they even think about what comes next.
Next up, action number 2, empty the old grounds. Again, it's just a single, clear command. Now, it might feel a little robotic to break it down like this, but honestly, that's the point. It removes every ounce of ambiguity and makes sure the reader can't possibly miss a crucial step.
And finally, step 3, rinse the basket. See how that works? Each action gets its own number, its own little moment in the spotlight. The reader does the action, mentally checks it off, and then moves on. It's simple, it's sequential, and it is virtually foolproof.
So let's bring all of this together now. Creating clear instructions, it isn't some kind of mysterious magic. It's a system. It's a deliberate path of choices that a writer makes before they even think about writing step 1.
This right here is the roadmap to clarity. You always start with your audience. Then you choose your goal. Are you going to instruct or are you going to describe? You design for function, not for style. And you enforce that strict discipline of the one action per step rule. This isn't just about writing better. It's about creating a system that actually empowers people instead of frustrating them.
And that brings us to the end. So I'll just leave you with this one question. Think about a process at your work or in your home, maybe a project you're involved in. Using these principles, what's one thing you could make dramatically clearer for someone else tomorrow?